This is the newest filter from H&Y Digital, the RevoRing 1/4 Black Mist filter. Now, if you're someone like me that's never even heard of the RevoRing before, let's tackle that first. The RevoRing is a filter design that is created by a company called H&Y Digital. And basically, it's just a filter with a built-in size-adjustable adapter ring. So that means you can quickly attach this to any lens with an outer diameter of 67 millimeters all the way up to 82 millimeters. And this is really cool. It's just a really simple twist and release mechanism. You simply twist the back of the filter, you put it up against the lens, and release. Now, the first RevoRing that H&Y put out was a variable ND plus a circular pola, so it was a 2-in-1. But now they're launching this new line of Black Mist filters, which come in 3 different strengths, so you get an 1/8, 1/4, or half for your choosing. So if you are a current owner of the original RevoRing, you can order just the Black Mist filter, and it will magnetize to the front of your current filter, much like how the cap attaches to this one. So, magnet for the front cap, and RevoRing for the back cap. However, you also have the option to order only the Black Mist RevoRing, which is what I have here. In other words, this is not the variable ND plus circular pola combo. This is literally only a 1/4 Black Mist filter with the RevoRing design. Now let's talk filters. You all know I have a huge admiration and collection of filters. If you are new here, I have left a link to a playlist down in the description below, which is full of videos with all of my filter tests and reviews that I have demoed here on the channel in the past already. Side note, I have been in the process of making an ultimate filter test video, so be on the lookout for that in our very near future. I am constantly seeking out new filters. Both these boxes are full of industry standard filters. It's just what I do. So if you yourself are into filters, then you'll probably enjoy what I do here. Again, link to that playlist down in the description below. With all of that being said, the only way I knew how to demo and review this H&Y Digital 1/4 Black Mist filter was to compare it to a few other industry standard black diffusion filters. Specifically, the Tiffen 1/4 Black Pro Mist and the 1/4 Hollywood BlackMagic from Schneider Optics. So here we go. This first test was in a controlled environment. The first thing we are going to observe here is how each of these filters affect the quality of the skin. Because all 3 of these filters do somewhat soften wrinkles and blemishes. Now I say somewhat because if you were to ask me what specific filter I would choose to soften skin, I would say either the Classic Softs or the Radiant Softs. But most diffusion filters will soften the skin to some degree, and we are seeing that in all 3 of these. Now obviously the heavier of strength that you go on the diffusion, you will see more softening of the skin. However, other areas of your image will be way more affected as well, such as our practicals and our highlights. Now notice the halation around that aperture bulb and those fairy lights here in our shot. The Hollywood BlackMagic filters are actually 2-in-1. So what Schneider have done, they combine a Classic Soft with a Black Frost, and you get a Hollywood BlackMagic. Meanwhile, something like the Tiffen Black Pro Mist was literally designed to increase halation. And to my eye, I would say that the H&Y Digital Black Mist filter is pretty much a copy of the Tiffen Black Pro Mist. Or at least it most certainly is doing the exact same things that the Tiffen Black Pro Mist is doing. However, with that being said, I do want to point out that to my eye, when looking at all 3 of these, the H&Y 1/4 Black Mist filter does seem to be the least heavy of all 3 of these. And we can really notice this when we take a look at the bokeh. Now for the moment, let's just ignore the reflections that we see happening here. We'll get to that in a moment. But when we compare the bokeh of all 3 of these, we can certainly see that the Hollywood BlackMagic is contaminating the bokeh the most, while the H&Y Black Mist is keeping it fairly clean. So what's really going on with these black diffusion filters? Now all 3 of them are somewhat reducing the highlights and lowering the contrast, Now again, I say somewhat because for me, if I was looking for a filter to help squeeze my waveform, I would be choosing none of these filters. There are other filters out there that already exist that were literally designed to help lower the contrast and reduce the highlights. I'm specifically talking about Tiffen's low cons and ultra cons. And I have been using those filters on a ton of jobs lately, and all of my members over on the Dog Times Patreon are well aware of this already. Again, be on the lookout for that ultimate filter test coming soon. So if you were to ask me what I think all three of these black diffusion filters were actually designed to do, I would say creating a soft quality of light. And that's where the heavy halation comes in. And some projects are after that look. That's why some groups call these filters dream filters. The next thing we want to observe in our little homemade test here is how each of these filters are affected by the backlight. So you'll notice that all three give me a really nice glow when I'm backlit. And when I move away from the source, some flare more than others. Now keep in mind, I am shooting on Zeiss Milvis, which literally have almost zero flare. And we saw that in my demo of the Zhongyi Optics Speedmaster comparison video. Now the biggest concern when using any sort of diffusion on the front of the lens is glare, specifically side glare. Now I did a demo of this a while back over on my Instagram @KidTech, back when we were doing the little 80s Tinder sketch, and I showed where I was using a soft net filter and how I preserved the contrast of my image by using side flags on my matte box. Now this is the biggest downside of using a big round screw-on filter like this RevoRing. They are not compatible with your normal matte box. But just hold that thought for a minute, because first I want to show you how badly a little side light can really destroy your image, especially when using diffusion on the lens. So you'll notice how it instantly washes out, it kills your entire contrast. This is why a matte box with side flags is so important. Now for the next test, I kept it down and dirty, just went down by the water at the worst time of the day and cracked off some shots with each of these filters. Really just to see how they fare in natural light. Now to my eye, in such a brightly lit environment, none of these filters really seem to be that noticeable to my eye. And again, something to consider is that all of these are only 1/4 strength, and I am shooting on quite possibly some of the sharpest lenses available, the Zeiss Milvis. So that is another thing to consider when purchasing diffusion filters. If you're shooting on old vintage Leica glass, for example, then yeah, a 1/4 strength diffusion is probably enough for you. But for someone like me who's shooting on modern glass, a 1/4 strength diffusion just doesn't work, not to my tastes anyways. I generally live in the half and even 1 strength world when it comes to diffusion or any sort of filter on the front of my lenses. Okay, so now let's jump back in here and talk about some of the biggest issues when using screw-on filters. Let's revisit those heinous reflections. You'll notice that that was something very noticeable with all 3 diffusion filters. What's happening there is the light emitted from the fairy lights is going through the filter, hitting the front of the lens, and then some of that light is being bounced back at the filter. That's what's creating those little orbs of reflected light. Because you'll notice when I stand in front of the fairy lights, the reflections go away. So this is a big problem with screw-on filters because you're never going to be able to avoid that. You either have to change your blocking or just get rid of the lights altogether. But there is a better solution. You use square filters in an industry standard matte box that allows for tilt control. Now this is something else I did a demo of over on my IGTV a while back, and we talk about it all the time over on the Dog Times Patreon. So if you're someone like me that tends to stack filters all the time, then you will most certainly benefit from the Bright Tangerine tilt adapter. And this is a little mechanism that they make for their swing away matte boxes. So here you will see, talk about amazing filter control. Now, we all know that these items are not cheap, but when it comes to specific tools in the film industry, specifically ones that help you enhance your image, cheap just really isn't an option. So as you can see in this example here, I had a Satin 1 in the matte box, and with a simple tilt of the entire matte box, the reflections magically go away. Now, something else, when I was down by the water, I thought I was going to be smooth and use the H&Y Black Mist RevoRing in my Simod filter tray. Now, it does fit inside the tray. However, the RevoRing is so large that it prevents the tray from sitting inside the matte box itself. So, as I said in the IGTV video, that is a bit of a bummer. So who do I believe that this RevoRing would be good for? Well, I would say all of my live event guys, certainly my wedding videographer friends, anyone that's running around there shooting on the fly, one-man band style, this could certainly be beneficial for you. Because a lot of those folks will have like a little group of go-to lenses that they always use, and they're not always, modded out. They may not all be the same outer diameter ring. So having something like the RevoRing where you can just quickly swap it in between lenses, it seems like that would be something that would really benefit a one-man band. For someone like me, it just wouldn't get much use at all, to be quite honest, because I am a huge proponent of using matte boxes. It's just the way I like to shoot. Again, you choose the tools that make sense for what you do and not what I do. So as always, there are links down below so you can do your own research on everything that we've talked about here today. Over on the Dog Times Patreon this week, we are checking out a short film shoot that shows what you can do when you're in a scenario where all you have is one light. And we found ourselves in a cave. So this is really working off of one light, a little interesting contraption I made. And plus you can see how the ultracons really help when shooting day exteriors. So you're not going to want to miss out on that. Links are down below. And if you're new here, consider tapping that subscribe button and the bell so you get the notifications every time I drop a new video, as well as be on the lookout for that ultimate filter test video coming soon. And in the meantime, if you haven't, be sure to peruse that entire playlist of all my past filter tests and reviews. And for now, that is a wrap.
All right.
And thank fucking God! Thank you, God! Thank you, God! Yeah! Motherfucker! That's a wrap, bitch!